Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadadave Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Magyan Trimidandasya Gananjana Sharakaya Chakshuramnitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jakarpa Trivascha Privasinya Vayevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. We'll be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 13, Verse 8. I think a few of you who have assembled and those who may be listening on the live stream in the future, my pranams to everyone. Give me some blessings to speak something that's relevant to all of us, and for the pleasure of Guru Gauranga Radhesham, so that we can progress on this glorious and wonderful path of Krishna Bhakti. Though I have little to no qualification to the mercy of the Vaishnavas, I have been asked to do some seva. So please forgive me in advance for my inability to articulate my thoughts, but you are all merciful, so please empower me. I'll share my screen so we all have the verse in front of us. Can you see the verse, Prabhu?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu, we can see the verse, Prabhu.
Yustir uvacha api smarata no yushmat paksha achaya sameditam vipadanad vishagneiradir mochita yat samatrikatha api smarta no yushmat paksha chaya samidatam vipadanad vishagneiradir mochita yat samakritaha api smarta no yushmat paksha achaya sameditan vipadganad vishagnayadir mochita yat samakritaha. Any devotees want to say the verse? Please unmute and do as you would like.
Okay, Prabhu. Yudhishthira uvacha api smaratha yushmat pakshachaya samedhitan vipadgana vishagnadir mujitaya samatrikaha. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Hare. Please.
Yeah. Yudhishthira uvacha api smartah no yushmat pakshachaya samadhitan vipadnanad visagnadar mokshitayat samatrikaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anybody else on the call? I saw one more. At least before I switch screens, I can't see everybody.
I just joined.
Hey, Hari Hari, Prabhu, you'd like to sing?
Sorry about being late. Should I try?
Please do.
Thank you. Yudhishthira Vacha, Api Smarta no Yushmat, Daksha Chacha Samedhitan, Vipadganad Vesaknater, Uchitayat Samakritaha. I'm sorry, Samatrakaha. Thank you, bro.
Hari Hari. Anybody else? Word for word, Yudhishthira Uvacha. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, Api, whether, Smarata, you remember, na, us, you smut, from you, Paksha, partiality towards us like the wings of a bird, Jaya, protection, Sameditam, we who were brought up by you, Vipat Ganat, from various types of calamities, Visha, by administration of poison, Agni Ade, by setting on fire, Uchitaha, released from, Yat, what you have done, Sa, along with, Mat Kritaha, our mother. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, this is a translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Yudhishthira Maharaj said, my uncle, do you remember how you always protected us, along with our mother, from all sorts of calamities? Your partiality, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson. Purport. So it's a little bit of a long purport, but there's some nice little history Srila Prabhupada goes into. Mahabharata history. I think it's from Mahabharata. Due to Pandu's death at an early age, his minor children and widow were the object of special care by all the elderly members of the family, especially Bhishmadev and Mahatma Vidura. Vidura was more or less partial to the Pandavas due to their political position. Although Dhritarashtra was equally careful for the minor children of Maharaj Pandu, he was one of the intriguing parties who wanted to wash away the descendants of Pandu and replace them by raising his own sons to become rulers of the kingdom. Mahatma Vidura could follow this intrigue of Dhritarashtra in company, and therefore, even though he was a faithful servitor of his elder brother Dhritarashtra, he did not like his political ambition for the sake of his own sons. He was therefore very careful about the protection of the Pandavas and their widow mother. Thus he was, so to speak, partial to the Pandavas, preferring them to the sons of Dhritarashtra, although both of them were equally affectionate in his ordinary eyes. He was equally affectionate to both of the camps of nephews in the sense that he was always chastising Duryodhana for his intriguing policy against his cousins. He always criticized his elder brother for his political policy of encouragement to his sons, and at the same time he was always alert in giving special protection to the Pandavas. All these different activities of Vidura within the palace policies made him well known as partial to the Pandavas. Maharaj Yudhishthira had referenced to the past history of Vidura before his going away from home for a prolonged pilgrimage journey. Maharaj Yudhishthira reminded him that he was equally kind and partial to his grown-up nephews, even after the battle of Kurukshetra, a great family disaster. Before the Battle of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra's policy was peaceful annihilation of his nephews, and therefore he ordered Purochana to build a house at Varanavat. And when the building was finished, Dhritarashtra desired that his brother's family live there for some time. When the Pandavas were going there, in the presence of all the members of the royal family, Vidura tactfully gave instructions to the Pandavas about the future plan of Dhritarashtra. This is specifically described in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 114. He indirectly hinted a weapon not made of steel or any other material element can be more than sharp to kill an enemy, and he who knows this is never killed. That is to say, he hinted that the party of the Pandavas was being sent to Varnava to be killed, and thus he warned Yudhisthira to be very careful in their new residential palace. He also gave indications of fire and said that fire cannot extinguish the soul, but can annihilate the material body. But one who protects the soul can live. Kunti could not follow such indirect conversations between Maharaj Yudhisthira and Vidura, and thus, when she inquired from her son about the purport of the conversation, Yudhisthira replied that from the talks of Vidura, it was understood that there was a hint of fire in the house where they were proceeding. Later on, Vidura came in disguise to the Pandavas and informed them that the housekeeper was going to set fire to the house on the 14th night of the waning moon. It was an intrigue of Dhritarashtra that the Pandavas might die altogether with their mother, and by this warning, the Pandavas escaped through the tunnel underneath the earth, so that their escape was also unknown to Dhritarashtra, so much so that after setting the fire, the Kauravas were so certain of the death of the Pandavas that Dhritarashtra performed the last rites of death with great cheerfulness. This just goes to show his the demoniac nature that he's cultivated, Dhritarashtra, that he cheerfully performed the last rites of his nephews, who were pretty much like his sons. From what I understand, during these Vedic times, even now, we see some families. We have, uncles and aunties are like parents, and their nephews are like their own children. And we get sad when we hear of friends losing loved ones, what to speak of our own family members. And Dhritarashtra is here. Prabhupada is pointing out that he was full of cheerfulness. So that's so nice. And during the mourning period, all the members of the palace became overwhelmed with lamentation, but Vidura did not do so, because of his knowledge of the Pandavas were alive somewhere. There are many such instances of calamities, and in each of them, Vidura gave protection to the Pandavas on one hand. On the other hand, he tried to restrain his brother Dhritarashtra from such intriguing policies. Therefore, he was always partial to the Pandavas, just as a bird protects his eggs by its wing. Prabhupada added this last sentence because of the analogy Maharaj Yudhisthira says in the verse along that the partiality, like the wings of a bird. Birds protect their eggs with their wings. So Prabhupada adds that at the end. Nice. Thank you all for being with us again. Prabhupada's giving some of the history here of the arson that Maharaj Yudhisthira mentions here. Or Mahabharata is this story is described, as Srila Prabhupada points out. And Vidura, being a great devotee, is always eager to protect the devotees, the Pandavas. They're also great devotees. And because their father had died in an early age, who was the king, yet a younger son, was crowned king because Dhritarashtra was blind. Thus he was supposed to be king regent, just holding the throne until Maharaj Yudhisthira was old enough to take the throne, but due to his desire for his own son to take the throne, and then also Duryodhana's ambition to take the throne, he tried to get rid of the Pandavas by so many means. Here it's said poisoning and arson. Srila Prabhupada gave the history of the arson. I can't remember right now what the poisoning is. Maybe at some point someone can share that story. I am unable to remember the poisoning, but this verse here is kind of setting up the scene for Vidura is just arriving from his long pilgrimage. Srila Prabhupada pointed out somewhere in the purport that he had left just before the Battle of Kurukshetra because he actually said some words to Duryodhana, and Duryodhana kicked him out of the palace. And thus he happily left to visit many holy places. And later on in Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll hear about the different activities that Vidura did. He heard from Maitreya Muni. There's wonderful chapter after chapter. I think it's in the second canto, if I remember correctly, where he is being instructed by Maitreya Muni. Wonderful realizations and discussions that take place. Maharaj Parikshit will ask about these things later. What did he learn? And so Shukadeva Goswami will narrate this. But this particular chapter is entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. And that after this is after now the Battle of Kurukshetra, where Vidura returns to Hastinapur, and who's first is greeted by Maharaj Yudhisthira. But after these some verses, we will come to where he approaches Dhritarashtra and informs him that he should give up this life of luxury, living in the palace, especially since he tried to kill so many times Maharaj Yudhisthira and his brothers. He says, you are living here like he said some, so not some harsh words, but some pretty direct words like you're living like a dog in the house of somebody you're living off the remnants. I don't think he said dog, remnants, something like that. We'll read it later on, but some pretty intense words to kind of get Dhritarashtra to kind of snap out of this idea that I should live my life finishing it here in this palace under the protection of those I tried to kill. He encourages him to take to the path of austerity, to go to the forest and fix your mind on the Supreme Lord. The door is a bhakta. So he encourages Dhritarashtra to take up the path of bhakti at the fag end of his life. He uses words like, he says things like, your throat is filled with mucus and this or that, and your strength is weakening. So use the last of it to cultivate spiritual, your spiritual reality, your spiritual progress. Make some spiritual progress. Remember Krishna. So Vidura, acting like guru, is reminding his older brother to take up Krishna bhakti. And this is a good lesson for all of us, that death is quick approaching to all of us. There's no known time. Most of us don't get the opportunity to know which time we will leave this world. So Srila Prabhupada said the time to be serious. Our acharyas tell us the time is now. Prahlad Maharaj says that old age means close to death. So all of us could be in our old age, but with every breath, with every moment of time passing, we are one step closer to this reality. And we must prepare our minds to be ready to identify with our eternal reality, our eternal position of being a servant of Krishna, to remember Krishna, to remember his holy names, his forms, his quality, his pastimes, who we are, not in relation to this body, but in relation to Krishna. So at the time of death, and that takes practice. Just like that we have to cultivate that reality now. And the more we realize that reality now, the more better chance we have of remembering that reality at the time of death. So this word smarna is here. Remember, sarata. The root would be smarna, right? He's saying you remember, but I'm thinking about the process of one of the 9 processes of bhakti called smarna, and how important it is to remember Krishna at every moment. We should be cultivating some type of remembrance of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada used to say, and he writes, oftentimes the best way to remember Krishna is to always chant his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Krishna and his name are non-different. It's not that the holy name reveals, or it's not that, how do we say, like, it's not that the holy name and Krishna, the holy name and Krishna are different in any way. That by chanting the holy name, I don't know how to put it in words. But if we have the thought that there's some difference, that in one hand we have Krishna's form, in one hand we have Krishna's name, or in another hand we have Krishna's lila, in another hand we have Krishna's qualities. They're not separate, right? When we in this material world we have water, we have the word water, and we have the form water. They're not the same. We can't take water. I don't know if you can see me, but I have a water bottle in my hand. If I say water, I don't feel, my thirst doesn't go away. I have to drink it in order to experience water. But Krishna is not like that. Being absolute and one with his name, form, qualities, and pastimes, simply by remembering any one of them, we can experience Krishna. In this age, we know that his holy name is the main process. And it is said by our acharyas that through chanting the holy name, we realize the non-difference of his name, his form, his qualities, his pastime. So from Nam, his name, his qualities, his form, and then his lila, all manifest within the heart of a purified devotee. So, so when we're chanting the holy names in our bhajan, in our time of sadhana, the acharyas recommend that we chant with great attention, great, if we can, absorption and affection for the pleasure of Krishna. All of these processes are our mood behind it is, Krishna, how can I please you? But in order to keep the mind fixed in Krishna, we have to feel some hunger for Krishna. Yeah, like if you are just finished a big feast and someone brings you food, you don't want to eat. But if you are performing Nirjala Ekadasi, right, anyone who's performed Nirjal fasting, either on Ekadasi or on Janmastami or Gaur or some day like that, some special day, when you smell food, when you see food, when you even think of food, the body has some reaction. Our tongue begins to water, our stomach begins to rumble. Right, so we have to have some thirst for Krishna in order to remember. If we don't have the eagerness to remember, to absorb our consciousness in Krishna, then our sadhana won't have the same effect as if we do have, and we can't take full shelter because we're being filled up by something else, and most of that something else is our own desire for enjoyment in this world, to find happiness in things unrelated to Krishna. And this is a great calamity for the humans. It's a great calamity for the spirit soul. But in this human form of life, this is our great the greatest benediction that we get to engage in remembering Krishna in some way, either through studying Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing his transcendental pastimes, remembering his wonderful qualities, by chanting his holy names. This is our the great duty of human life, the great benediction of this material world, this human form of life, that we can engage in these things, and yet we waste our time in pursuit of happiness through the senses. So how we gain some thirst, how we have to remember have to cultivate this idea of we have to have to cultivate attachment to Krishna and detachment from the material body, the lurings of our material desires. Fix our mind on Krishna's lotus feet. Arjuna says, how do we control the mind? Right? Even we sit down to chant, our prescribed japa, or if we sit to perform kirtan or hear Srimad Bhagavatam, a lot of times the mind wanders here or there, right? Trying to control the mind is like trying to control the raging wind. From what I remember, that's how Arjuna says it. How is it possible to control these things, right? We all know, we've heard this verse that Krishna says, by constant practice and detachment. So just as a baby, when it's learning to walk, it will stand and it will fall. It will stand and it will fall. And we're trying to, anything that we try to perfect, we have to practice. So sadhana bhakti is our practice. We practice over and over how to keep the mind fixed in Krishna. So every time it tries to run away, we have to pull it back. One of the ways we can help pull it back is by remembering. We think deeply of the temporary nature of the senses of this body and identify who we are, right? Krishna begins Bhagavad Gita by teaching Arjuna that he is not this body. So we think, we're not this body, we're a spirit soul. But who are we what is our spiritual identity? Who are we? What is our relationship with Krishna? What is our what is my service to Krishna? Trying to cultivate these things. Sometimes just as we make progress in our bhajan, the idea of just being a spirit soul is not quite enough. If you ever have the thought of, oh, what is my relationship with Krishna? Who am I in this, in my spiritual identity? Fan those sparks, because the more we identify with our spiritual reality, the more we can, the more we will give up the identity of this body. And it begins with understanding that our temporary situation of material enjoyment is quickly approaching a end, and the more we realize, the more that we cultivate, should I say, not necessarily realize, but cultivate, because through cultivation we will have realization of the temporary nature of all of our distractions, and but focusing our attention rather on the distractions, but on Krishna, his name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes. Vidura, he came to, I was thinking about how Vidura was always coming to rescue the Pandavas from so many calamities, and I was thinking of how Guru is his compassionate nature is to teach the disciple how to free himself from these calamities, this calamity of death, right? The fire, it said the material world is like a forest fire, right? Guru comes to rain, shower his mercy of, and it's likened to rain pouring down on a forest fire, right? The put it out. Samsara Davana Veda Loka. It's the first verse of Vastikam that is sung in the temple every morning. Maybe some devotees sing it in their homes also, which is very nice. But the spiritual master is there to help the disciple on this final test of death. And it's explained that our only true friend is Krishna, because he was the only one that will be there at the time of our death. The devotees, that we're currently associating with are helping us along the way, and they may be there at our time doing kirtan for us, but within the heart, within the mind, at that time, we will have our relationship with Guru, and we will have Krishna. And we will have our remembrance of what we've cultivated through our lives. Are we cultivating what's the latest news of what's happening in this world? When we wake up in the morning, a lot of times we open our phones. What's the first thing we do? Everybody opens our phones, and what are we looking at? Are we remembering Krishna? Are we remembering Guru and the Vaishnavas? Are we remembering what's happening in this world? Are we what is our cultivation throughout the day that is not during the time of our fixed sadhana? That will depend on how powerful our sadhana is at the time when we sit to do our bhajan. The more we fix our minds in Krishna throughout the day, the more our mind will be fixed in our sadhana during our time of bhajan. And if our time, and it works but the other way around, if our minds absorb in Krishna and our bhajan, then our mind will be absorbed in Krishna throughout the day when we're not sitting for our bhajan. So this cultivation is of utmost importance, because Krishna is the only one that will be there for us at the time of death. We have to cultivate a relationship with Krishna in order to remember him at the time of death. I wish I could quote some Praman. There's plenty of it in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Devotees like Praman. But unfortunately, I'm not a scholar, so I cannot quote wonderful verses. But these are some realizations from thinking about this verse. And there's one story that I read that that I was thinking about, that I'd like to read you. Oh, what time is it? See what time it is. A little bit of time. I think this story won't take too long. That illustrates how our cultivation of how when we can't see, how do I say this? When we deeply think about when we realize the temporary nature of this world, and that Krishna is our only friend, we say this, but we don't show it in action. When we show it in action, this becomes firmly fixed in the heart, and we will begin to realize Krishna, begin to realize our spiritual identity, and we will begin to disassociate ourselves with the body through this cultivation. And this story is a very nice allegorical story to help us cultivate, to help us find that because we have a desire, a taste, this ras to enjoy is stronger than our bhakti ras. It is the reason for our predicament of not finding taste in our bhajan, of our sadhana. And when we cultivate the reality that everything in this world is temporary, and all I have is Krishna, this will help us to give up our ras for material enjoyment. So once upon a time, there was a king. He suffered from some incurable illness. He had seen many doctors, but they could not cure him. Therefore, the king gave up all hope of living and spent his time in misery. One day, a sage arrived at the palace. The king served him carefully. The sage, too, became extremely happy with the king. Now the time of farewell arrived. The sage told the king, Maharaj, you have served me well. I am most satisfied. Please tell me, what can I do for you? The king said, please, O great soul, I do not lack anything material. However, I've been suffering from an incurable illness since many days. Please, can you cure me of this illness? The sage said, Maharaj, I will most certainly rid you of this illness. But you have to obey my command. Otherwise, the medicine will have no effect. Look, Maharaj, continued the sage, as long as I give you the medicine, you must not desire for material enjoyment. If you have any such desire, the medicine will become ineffective. All this while, you have to practice celibacy. You cannot even see the face of a woman. If you promise to obey me, then I will give you the medicine. The king was overjoyed. He said, O great one, I have given up all hopes of living. If you can rid me of my disease, I can do anything for you. What you are asking me to do is a very small thing. On the next day, the sage went to the forest and collected some various herbs, roots and leaves. He squeezed out the juice and he poured it into 2 golden goblets. He half filled one of them and filled the other up to the rim. He gave the half-filled vessel to the king and asked him to drink it, while he gulped down the other one himself. This became a daily routine. After a month, the king felt completely well. In fact, he felt stronger and healthier than he had before the illness. At last, the king was convinced that the sage had cured him fully. However, the medicine had not stopped. After some time, the king experienced lust. How much ever he tried, he could not control the mind at all. At last, the king approached the sage and expressed his condition. He said, O great soul, for so many days I had controlled myself, but since some days I am experiencing outbursts of lust. Now I have recovered completely. I also want to know another thing. You drank twice the quantity of medicine you gave me, yet I don't think you face any problem. What is the reason for this? The sage said to Maharaj, I will reply tomorrow. The next morning, the sage told him, Maharaj, I came to know that because you experience lust, the medicine has become ineffective. Not only this, you will live only for 1 more month. Most certainly, you will die after 1 month. However, I shall give you some medicine so that you die in peace. You may enjoy however much you desire for this 1 month. As soon as the king heard this, he felt as if he had already died. The king did not like anything. He was the least interested in worldly affairs. He lost his appetite. As for associating with women, he forgot the matter entirely. On the other hand, the sage continued to give him 1 full glass of medicine. The king too continued to drink it. The king had changed completely. He never talked nor met with anyone. He only thought of death. He thought of all the misdeeds he had committed in the past. He pondered what had happened to him when he died. What would happen to him when he dies? Would the Yamadutas come with a noose? Would he go to hell? Such questions troubled him constantly. He only counted the days remaining to his death. He did not like his home and family anymore. He gave up all association and spent his time in the temple. He would gaze at the deity and weep. On the last day of the month, the sage told the king, Maharaj, how are you? The king replied in a piteous voice, O great soul, only my body is remaining. The soul is as good as gone. Again, the sage asked him, Maharaj, have you experienced any lust in these few days? The king said, O great soul, what do you mean? I'm going to die in a very short while. How can you expect me to feel lust? The sage said with a smile, Maharaj, you are completely well. Your lifespan too has increased. You will not die just now. Nonetheless, you had asked me a question. Why do I not experience lust in spite of drinking such a large amount of the medicine? This is the only reason, Maharaj. I always think that I may die at any moment. Death is the only one guarantee to us. I feel this truth firmly, so material objects do not tempt me. You, on the other hand, felt you had, you do not, sorry. You, on the other hand, felt you do not have to fear death anymore. This is the reason why you felt a desire for material enjoyment. Maharaj, this material world is temporary, and so is the body. Even then, we waste this rare and precious human life in material enjoyment. This is suicide. Maharaj, I cannot stress enough how precious each moment of human life is. We should always remember that we might die at any moment. Therefore, it is extremely foolish to waste human life in material pursuits. By now, the king too had gained awareness. He forsook all the happiness and opulence of his vast kingdom, and he went away with the sage in the dark night to gain the lotus feet of Sri Bhagavan. That's the allegorical story. And I was remembering one thing that Srila Prabhupada said, that we said the problem with you Western devotees, I don't know if he used the word Western, but it's the way I remember from my Guru Maharaj telling, that you Western devotees is that you have no fear of Maya. One devotee saw Prabhupada gazing very lovingly at the deity with kind of tears in his eyes. He asked Prabhupada, what did you pray? I was praying that I would never fall down. I will never be lured into the trap of Maya by her different allurements. So this is the predicament of the material world. We should, so these two stories, makes me realize that one, we should always be praying to Krishna for his protection, and that we should have a healthy fear of material existence, because Maya is very strong, and she has a great way of alluring us to our material desires. But if we can, while we're constantly, to the best of our ability, to constantly engage in Krishna Bhakti, remember the temporary nature of this material world and of this body and of these so-called enjoyments, we can more and more fix our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. And that way, when the time of death comes, we will be ready to embrace the Lord and not be thinking of various material desires that we've cultivated. So, in short, Vidura has come to encourage Dhritarashtra to do this, and that was what I had thought about. I think this probably out of time now. I wanted to leave some time for some discussion, but we're low on time. So I will end here and ask if there's any questions, comments, or anything else devotees would like to.
Thank you, Bala Prabhu, for sharing your realizations and what you've heard in this past time. And like you said, there's many ways to explain these verses based on context, but I appreciated your attempt and due diligence to explain it as thoroughly as you've understood from your readings and hearings, and your fidelity in that process. Quality for Brahman is honesty. So I like how you always try to have that as in your nature. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to comment? I think I see some chat messages. So, Prabhu, thank you for your Krishna Katha.
Any questions?
Questions, additions, reflections?
Please want to share anything that inspired them in this verse? Please. There's, looks like 4 other devotees who could share some reflection real quick.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for this Krishna Katha and about Vidura, Dhritarashtra, and you expressed in many ways variety. It is very good to me. I am impressed. I am very happy. Morning, this class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Guru Varanga. Thank you. Bhagavatam Vilas, anything you want to add, Prabhu? Anything that, or your wife if she's there also? Okay, sounds like nobody wants to share anything. Okay. Thank you for tolerating your encouragement. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam.
His Grace Brother Hari Prabhu talked about when is Krishna present in our kirtan or our bhajan? And the answer was he's always present. And sometimes his lack of apparent response is also response. So please take this lack of or some absence of comment in that mood as well. Very nice, from a very elevated devotee.
Say that again?
Very nice comment by a very elevated devotee. Did you hear what I had said?
I did, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, well, hope to see you all today. Today we have program at 11:30 with Maharaj continuing lessons from the Ramayana. And that's at the temple. For those of you that can't attend temple, Dr. Madha Prabhu and Kirtida Mataji are having a gathering at 5 p.m. at their home. It happens to be the 1-year anniversary of their beautiful deities that were installed by Maharaj, or welcomed, I should say, welcomed by Maharaj into their home about apparently a year ago at this similar time frame. So, Nitai Prabhu, have you seen their deities?
I don't know. I'll try to be there tonight, so.
Yeah, I think you'll like, because I obtained them from Govinda Prabhu, who told me that he had these deities cast from the same deity maker who made the deities of Shri Krishna Bala.
Right.
And Shri Jananivas Prabhu, with the opportunity to serve these deities while they were gone for Sadhu Sangha. And as Shri Jananivas Prabhuji came through with a TOP tour this year. We had the great fortune of having this, wonderful presence in our home. And he kept looking at those deities and he said, so sweet. So, for that to come from someone like him means a lot, I think. So, and to have close attachment and feelings for Jananivas Prabhuji, you'll probably like seeing that. They're very blissful looking deities. Okay, I'll let everybody go. I don't want to make all of them pass. So, okay, Hare Krishna. Take care. Thank you, Bala Prabhu, for your service. Hare Bol. Bye-bye.